Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Kyle's Corner podcast. I'm your host, not Kyle. This is me, Nick Z, here in the hot seat, being the host and all. Kyle's out sick this week, I'm pretty sure, and we want him to rest up real nice for his voice to be all velvety smooth for more gaming videos he's going to be producing for us in the next week or so. So I've got
dulcet tones of Kyle.
Oh yes, absolutely. As you heard just now, that is my co-host and guest, Mr. Brian. How you doing, Brian?
Hello, I'm doing very good. Until I had to watch all these game trailers, and now I feel like garbage.
Yeah, now he's down in the dumps about that because, God almighty, second half of E3. I wouldn't even say it's second half, it's just like second round. Today we're going to be covering a lot of stuff that we didn't talk about last episode, where we covered, I believe, the beginnings of Microsoft and Bethesda's conferences. This time we're going to be talking about both Square Enix, Ubisoft, and for just a little fun, we decided to take a look at the Devolver Digital conference, little direct that they put out this year. We're going to talk about all three of them. So I don't know where to start. We should start with E3 or should we talk about... We should talk about E3 for sure.
Yeah. So before we dive head first into the conference, we should probably say I am not a gamer. So Nick and I will definitely have differing opinions on a lot of this stuff. I don't have much game experience, and looking at these trailers, there's not much there that that I'm all that interested in. So I don't know.
We really had to narrow down what we were going to possibly talk about differently from last week. Like me and Kyle, I thought kind of rambled on about a little. As pointed out, we did talk about stuff that didn't interest us, but I decided to cover it like a games journalist, and that's not what we are. So this week around, I think we're going to be doing it a lot more formally and just giving our actual thoughts about certain subjects, and that'll hopefully cut down a lot of nonsense we provided last time. So, yeah, I mean, my gaming experience is predominantly Nintendo, early Nintendo, and then PlayStation. What is this? The sixth generation we're still in, or if we're going into. I'm new to even this stuff, so I've had to pick up a couple tricks of the trade in terms of like learning what's what and who's who and what am I supposed to care about. So, and based on what we have in front of us, I still don't know what I really care about. So, that can't be fair. There's a couple things I'm interested in, a couple of good things to talk about anyway. But where should we start?
Well, let's see. I watched Ubisoft first. Do you want to start there?
Yeah,
Otherwise,
we'll go there.
Okay. So obviously the big thing that Ubisoft showed was Watch Dogs 3. That was like 20 minutes of gameplay.
Yeah, that covered the majority of any like the recaps we had to watch. That just like was half the video was their entire gameplay demonstration. And I'm glad that was like, oddly enough, because out of everything I know even about Watch Dogs, I know I don't like it. I know that the second one was better. And I know that before this trailer came out, I would not have had any interest in just anything named Watch Dogs. But the main thing they have to offer with this game is that there's the ability to copy potentially, and the way they talk about it. What was the saying you say, Brian? Supposedly. You're supposed to be able to take over any body in the game that isn't necessarily like the main the police force that's taken over London. And recruit them to your team and be a little rebellious little London fighter and take down big grandfather, whatever they call him over there in London.
Yeah, I did find that really interesting. I liked just right from the beginning where they were walking around just scanning every person on the street, and they could just kind of, find out anything about those people and decide kind of who you want to save. I assume looks like it was where it was going. So yeah, I did find that interesting, and I liked that they showed that characters on your team can actually die, and you have to like switch out people and stuff. It was interesting.
See, that's the thing I think is going to be the most real about what translates, like the potential downgrade from what we actually get in the game or what players get. I see the potential of actually getting all this stuff done with different players and different backgrounds and different character types to work with. My issue is I fear that there's going to be a larger portion of this stuff being a little bit more random and not so, oh, you casually walked upon the guy who you needed and, oh, he just happened to be getting himself in trouble with the law.
Sure.
And, like, generating all this random stuff with, like, oh, who's that bloke that saved me? How would you know it's a bloke? The audio file is going into each character. Like, if it's going to be completely random, I feel like it's going to... I mean, you can't possibly have characters commenting on every single person's death. Can you?
Yeah, that would...
Can you?
I don't know.
I really know how audio files work, but I know they can't go... they can't be that small.
It can't just be a massive game full of... Yeah. Just every single person has audio set up for every other character.
And I know, from what I understand... from a little bit of research I've done, I think they're going to focus on the core, like 12 or 15 actual voice actors, and then just do either different accents or different inflections or like pitching, like they'll auto-generate pitching for a lot of their voicing, which makes sense to me. But even then, if the idea is that you have to have characters comment on other actual like names and stuff, unless it's the AI focuses on all that, like the British robot that was in communication with all of them, if he's like the overarching like central point for how you keep track of like all these different individuals interacting with each other, I can see that being the case. Maybe they didn't have really too much interaction between the actual people they were talking about. Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see how that would work. I would play this game based on what I saw, because they just seem to have like a bit more focus on like, okay, there's hacking, but then there's also like this dynamic of the game, which I found a bit more interesting.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, looking at all the Ubisoft games, I would say this one was the most interesting to me, and I assume they thought that too, and that's why they kind of made it the main focus of the panel. But
it was a good way to start the panel, I thought.
Yeah. I don't know. It's something I would, if I had a game system that could play it, it's something that I would pick up maybe if it was on a big sale.
Which usually what usually happens with these Ubisoft games. They're always like either AAA or, you know, like really contested, like, oh, the Division's gonna be great, and then a month later Division comes out for like $20, and you're like, okay, well, maybe I'll pick it up. And that's still like a fair way to sell your marketing or to sell your merchandise, is just having it price dropped, as long as it's not like just like bins of them being gathered up and no one's buying it, you know. That certainly happens in a lot of other cases. I'd pick it up if I knew it was going to be cheaper than it's probably going to come out for, and to see all the potential actual flaws in it, like how it doesn't just work. It's probably going to have a couple of issues working everything out. That's Watch Dogs. I am very curious to see, on this list of games they presented, what is the next one you found interesting?
Oh my god. None of the 6 Tom Clancy games. Literally, by the time they got to the very last one, which was a phone game, who the f*** is Tom Clancy? I don't understand.
Well,
all the games looked
exactly
the same.
Oh, Tom Clancy's an author. You know that.
Yeah, an author who just loves making video games. Oh, my God. I mean, it just looked like the same thing over and over and over.
You didn't like John Bernthal being scary?
I did laugh at that. I'm like, oh, is that the Punisher?
Yeah.
Like, it does. It looks like him, I guess. Yeah. I was really not impressed by anything. If I had to choose one of those to play, the one Rainbow Six Quarantine, the last game I played that I would say I really, really liked would be Alien Isolation. And just from the brief clip they showed of Quarantine, it did kind of look like that. Granted, they didn't show any actual gameplay, I don't think.
No, a far abundance of both this year's general E3 and I would say the Ubisoft. I think they really packed a lot of what they wanted to plan into the Watch Dogs ones. But everything else seemed to be just CG trailers and cinematics. They thought would be like, oh, this is captivating. I'm really engaged in the logo and the two people that come out and talk about the game, and John Bernthal's dog, And oh yeah, Brian, you didn't watch any of the conference. That's another thing. Brian just covered the majority.
Yeah, I just watched the trailers. I did not.
John Bernthal came out with a little doggy who's very well trained and like sat by his side while he talked about the game that he didn't make. He just started and said words. So
that's cute.
That was very cute. That was a highlight of E3, I think. The dog. That's a big problem. Everybody else had Keanu Reeves.
Is the dog in the game? Conferences had playing the game.
Doug Bowser. But this one just had a dog, and that was a highlight of that particular conference.
Yeah. So, I mean, not to really keep swinging back to this, but like, do these Tom Clancy games have big fan bases? Like,
well, clearly they've been churning them out. They keep making more and more, and Ubisoft's like taking that paycheck every time. Tom Clancy's dead, by the way, so I don't know how he keeps writing books to base off games. Yeah. Well, okay, wait. Can you remember offhand without looking? Can you tell me is John Bernthal's game, is that a Tom Clancy game?
Yes.
Can you tell me that? Okay. Is The Division Tom Clancy?
Yes. Brian. I know Rainbow Six was.
Brian.
Am I wrong?
No, you're right.
Oh, I was going to say.
I was Googling it myself to figure out. I was like, maybe he's right. I don't know. Yeah, all the shooting games. I think that's why I picked up the most out of this particular E3's coverage of Ubisoft. Is that the vast majority of these games are either sports related or they're shooting related, and you get to be tough in your house sitting on your couch.
Yeah, so really, if you take out the Tom Clancy games, with Ubisoft, the only stuff we have left are Brawlhalla and Gods and Monsters.
Well, knowing that Finn and Jake are in there, Brian, and you love Cartoon Network shows, wouldn't you pick up Brawlhalla?
Yeah, so Brawlhalla popped up, and I'm like, oh, it's Smash Bros.
Okay, yeah. But again, do you go, oh, it's Smash Bros, or do you go, oh, they're ripping off Smash Bros? Apparently you've had this opinion about Dragon Quest. You had this big opinion about Dragon Quest, which I don't think
we should have started recording a minute earlier because we were talking about Dragon Quest. But we'll get to that, Nick.
We'll get to that. I'm just it's what you call peppering. You season a little, pepper the audio.
Brawlhalla popped up, and I saw the map and the way it's on the background and the way the characters are, and I'm like, oh, it's Smash Bros. Like, I get having similar game styles, but they look the same. It seems to play exactly the same. Like, God,
yeah, but Smash Bros. Doesn't have Finn and Jake, so...
yeah, I don't care about Adventure Time either.
Not as good, though. Yeah, I really am looking at the list that we had to sit through for all these videos, and I can't remember really... one probable one that was...
Sorry, I said we only had Brawlhalla and Gods and Monsters, which, by the way, my notes on Gods and Monsters, it just says yuck. So we can skip that one.
All right.
But the other one was Roller Champions.
Yeah, the sports one I was talking about.
Yeah, and that doesn't look terrible. It looks, to me, kind of like a Rocket League type thing where you can just sort of pick it up and play around. And, you know, just anyone can do it. It looks kind of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I like Rocket League for what it is, and I mean, to me, it's roller derby. It's roller derby, the video game.
Yeah,
and, it's a little bit more extreme because it's digital. Obviously, you don't have to have the limitations. It looks like derby and that Mayan game they used to play on the wall, like they would just like throw stones up into the hoop.
What?
They would battle to the death for that stuff. There's something to do with the Aztecs or something. I don't know.
This history lesson has been brought to you by Nick Zamora. Professor Zamora.
I'm trying to think if I'd pick that up for less than $10. I just don't think I like sports games. I don't even think I don't play Rocket League anymore, so...
I mean, not really fair, the only place I've ever played Rocket League was with you, like, once.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, clearly I don't have that much of an interest in it. But yeah, I mean, it looked fine. It looks like it accomplishes what it's trying to be.
I'd say the biggest thing to talk about with regards to Ubisoft is, like, in hindsight, is whether or not that Watch Dogs game is really going to pull through. Otherwise, and if you have hopes for it, you have hopes for it. I am waiting to see what downgrades are made along the way, because unless it's just... like the bare minimum they had to produce to actually get those promises they made across. Like, you can be anybody. And they have 2 lines of dialogue each, and they're all the same voice actor. Like it's Skyrim, where there's like 5 voice actors, and you can just pick them up out of nowhere. You know, if it's that situation, then sure. Otherwise, I'm sure there's got to be some sort of leniency in terms of like, okay, we gotta close this file size down a little bit.
Walking around and scanning people and like being able to see what their talents are and stuff like that. It reminded me of like Roller Coaster Tycoon, where you can click on people and see how bad they have to go to the bathroom.
That's how you can see if Bill Clinton's having a good time at your
exactly,
real
happiness meter, bathroom meter, hunger.
Bob Clinton is here. He's the local celebrity or local politician, and he's upset because the taco stand's down. Yeah, I think Ubisoft, when you put it like this, in terms of we have no interest in For Honor or any of the Tom Clancy stuff, it's probably gonna be the shortest battle we talk about. Obviously, then again, what did you have? Okay, I would describe Ubisoft as the shooter, the shooter type conference. I would describe Square Enix, based on everything I know about this year's E3, which is my main E3 I've focused upon, because I focused on a lot of other conferences. I had to for this. I would describe Square Enix as like the more Japanese focused games. I have a couple things to say about Square Enix.
Go ahead.
What do you, well, to start off, I've never played any of the Final Fantasy games, but this new one, they've been teasing for, I think, about like 2 or 3 years at this point. It really feels like that trailer they released where everyone was really hype about it, which was, again, another CG trailer, like 2 or 3 years ago, which I remember watching I spent like 4 hours watching a compilation of people reacting to it, because I still had like that desire to see people get excited over absolute nonsense that didn't mean anything to me. I was excited to see what they were actually going to show off for their panel. And hey, I'm not a Final Fantasy guy. I lean against RPGs. Not against, but I just, out of everything I've bought or have a physical copy of, they rarely are RPG makers or games that have to do with a lot of strategy. They just seem to be like from here to here, point to point type games. And I'd be interested in picking this up if it was done right. I heard it's going to be episodic though, which I know is throwing people off a lot. It'd be like a Hitman series in that you'd have installations come out like week to week or month to month, which I imagine is kind of gross for a lot of people that just would like Final Fantasy fans, especially of 7, I'm sure, remember the time that you could just buy the game and play the game, and now it's like, okay, well, gotta either have the pass to get through all of it, or what does the waiting do if it's not you have to pay for it?
Yeah, I don't know. I assume they're shooting for like a TV show where they can kind of keep people interested in talking about it with new chapters. I'm not sure. Not to derail this, but you were talking about wanting to see people's reactions to this stuff. Mm-hmm. I felt the same way, just because I wanted to see, like, when they announced Tom Clancy's mobile game, was it just like silence? One guy in the background going, "Woo!"
No, I really think...
What was it?
I think if you watch the conference, you would get a better sense of
were people's
general disdain for mobile games. I mean, you didn't see the Bethesda conference. People... Oh, God. Bethesda's when it came to mobile games. So they have Elder Scrolls, right?
Yeah.
They have Skyrim, and then they have Elder Scrolls. I think they announced it last year. Elder Scrolls Blades came out, which is essentially Skyrim on your phone.
Yeah.
And is of course the monetization factor of getting waiting for stuff, like for your power to refill, and you get gems and then darker gems, and those darker gems would cost you like bucks to get. So I was thinking, like, they showed that off at Bethesda this year, and then they showed an additional one where this poor woman had to go up there and pretend like anybody gave a crap about Captain Keen Yeah, that's what it was. And it's a game about I can't really tell you what the game's about, but it's two little ginger-headed little boys, and they're doing something in space, and they're having a blast. Oh, until the time runs out, and you have to wait another 4 hours to do something. And you have to buy the crystals. And we hope all of you enjoy and have join us on the adventure for Captain Keen and just dead silence for the very most part. I remember that being probably the worst portion of Bethesda's, where it just slogged on. Where we're just like, okay, what could you possibly engage us with when it comes to a mobile game?
Yeah. So anyway, that's where I agree with you with actually wanting to see the audience reactions to some of this stuff. But back to Final Fantasy. Yeah. So when I watched the Ubisoft trailers, I had the advantage of the title of the game showed up before the trailer, but I didn't have that for Square Enix. So I don't know anything about Final Fantasy. And the trailer starts up, and it's like an elven-looking girl, and she's picking up flowers, and then it zooms out, and it looks like she's in an old-timey city, and then it zooms out even more, and she's in, like, some sort of Asian fusion electronic city. I'm like, okay, is this Tumblr the game? Oh, God.
That's what your belief in, like, Final Fantasy VII is? Just Tumblr world?
So, I mean, full disclosure, I'm not an anime fan either, and just the kind of that art aesthetic doesn't appeal to me at all, and that's mostly what Square Enix was.
Yeah, I know. That's why I described it as the Japanese panel.
The only Final Fantasy thing that I did actually find a little bit interesting was Final Fantasy Crystal Chronicles, which was like a game that looked like it was like a PS2 game that had been cleaned up. It was being re-released, the remastered edition or something. And I gotta say, despite my having no interest in any of the other Final Fantasy stuff that was announced, a cleaned up Crystal Chronicles looked really interesting, because I like that kind of PS2 platforming aesthetic, and that really had that a lot.
So you're gonna pick up the Switch for it?
No.
No.
But yeah, that was the only thing really out of that whole genre that really kind of appealed to me. I just like that kind of older game platforming aesthetic.
You could probably then pick up a copy of the old Crystal Chronicles, which I'm pretty sure that's just a remake of. Yeah, stuff like that I can see getting myself, like, if it's just smaller scale, there's a new collection of Secret of Mana games coming out, and those I know nothing about, but because it's smaller scale, and because there's nothing I need to worry about when it comes to, like Dragon Quest XI just came out, and I'm like, okay, do I need to play the 10 previous installations to know what the hell I should even care about? If it's smaller scale stuff, if it's done in a way that it doesn't seem so grand scale I need to worry about anything, I have no problems picking it up. Final Fantasy VII, I'm pretty sure, is almost the same way, in that I don't know if Sephiroth is another character that translates over to other games, but everyone seems to love him, and I don't know if it's just because everyone seems to love episode 7. And from what I understand, which is very little, this game is like each game is supposed to be its own standalone. So you get just like the series as a whole as its own, but just with like similar aesthetics. I really am not the one to talk about this sort of thing. Based on what they showed, I wouldn't mind picking it up because they showed a great amount of gameplay. It does look really good. Like, it just graphically, it just looks clean and looks polished. I don't know what about this appeals to me far more than anything like Kingdom Hearts has, which I'm pretty sure is also falls under the Square Enix.
Their umbrella, their
umbrella thing, yeah. Because I'm pretty sure like that's a combination of what Kingdom Hearts is Disney plus Final Fantasy. God, if we had to talk about Kingdom Hearts today, I think I would have just said, let's not do the episode because I have no idea. I think that I think Final Fantasy is going to be... Let's just blend all together, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I think Final Fantasy is going to be one of those titles that comes out, people pick it up, enjoy it for the sake of nostalgia. They say it'll never match up to the original, and then people will maybe slowly forget about it by the time like the last episodes come out. But there are diehard fans to this thing, as far as I know. So everyone was freaking. If you didn't see the panel when Tifa, the one girl, came out, everyone just literally one girl I think was crying the entire time that she came out. You could just like, even over the audio that they had presented for the actual like for what the trailer was, they still left the mics on for like the smaller studio or like amphitheater that they had, because they usually shut that stuff down when it's like Sony or a Microsoft one, when they're actually showing gameplay, because then you can't hear anybody. It doesn't distract from anything.
Yeah.
There was just one girl just crying, her freaking the crap out, because she could not believe that Tifa was in 3D now, like in this beautiful 3D world. And I was like, man, oh man, I wish I cared enough about this in any regards to get worked up so emotionally about it. I don't think I got worked up at all for any games this year. SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom, that might have my goat. And
who is that by? What studio?
I'm pretty sure TH Nordic is the one that does that series, because they were announcing both Battle for Bikini Bottom as well as the Destroy All Aliens series, which I just ended up playing the first two on the PlayStation 4 ports that they had for like under like $4 each, like total. Like they were just throwing these things away, and I don't know if it was reduced even more because of the potential, because they were both listed at $19.99 when I first took a look at them, which was I think at the start of this year. So maybe they were like, okay, if you want to try them out, they're going to be a couple bucks. In the next week, we're going to be announcing the remaster, which I don't know if I'll get. I'd love to see people play it. I have a couple friends that I know are going to be big fans of that. I thought the first one was pretty good. Don't know if I'd play it again just because it's remastered. I don't have any nostalgia with it. I played it like 2 weeks ago. Why did we even bring up THQ?
I don't know. We were.
All right.
What were we talking? All right. Yeah. Well, that's the THQ cast.
Yeah.
So what's left with Square Enix here? I guess, should we talk about Avengers?
Oh, yeah, that's right. That was another big staple. I was thinking like, oh man, we're kind of out of stuff too. Before that, I don't really have anything to say about it, but I would like to try out Octopath Traveler. I've heard that's a pretty good RPG, and that seems like something I wouldn't mind starting out with.
Yeah, I will. Just from watching the trailer, I was really impressed by like the 2D, 3D style mix, where you kind of looked like 2D characters walking around in a 3D world. Mm-hmm. I that looked interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it's as interesting as any RPG because it's still an RPG. But yeah, the style they do it in, they seem to impress me. So, oh god, I'm choking on my own burp here. Marvel's Avengers.
Yes.
I think there was a big to-do about these guys this week or whenever E3 was. I'm losing my mind. It was a big stink about what they looked like. I think the worst part about it was that these models have the disadvantage of having photos taken of them, and then those photos don't move. I thought everything looked better when it was in motion when I actually watched the trailer. The first thing I saw of it was the screen, like that, the big screenshot is the one of Black Widow, where everyone says she has like this jaw like a man, and it's just her hair. I mean, she looks as appealing to me as Scarlett Johansson did in the first Iron Man 2, when she first appeared. Mm-hmm. Like, I was like, okay, this just doesn't look like a person. Doesn't seem like a character at all. It just seems like a body. And I'm like, for people to look at, and I'm like, okay, well, this is nobody I'm going to grow attached to. And then, of course, throughout all these movies, we actually get to understand that person is a real character with emotions and a backstory and everything. So, first impressions are not everything, but
yeah. Well,
I don't know what it is about. They just decided not to. Could they not get the likeness to people? Because that's what everybody wanted.
That does seem to be what everyone's complaining about, but that doesn't bother me that much that it's not the actors from the movies. So the first thing, my first exposure to this game was in our Sody Boys chat. Fellow Sody Boy Kyle messaged that the Avengers game looks like the characters are from PS3 games, and I completely agree. I say if you're gonna do comic book, go kind of comic booky. Like Captain America and Black Widow, they don't look like Marvel characters. They just kind of look so.
They look like, to
neutral.
me, they look like their designs and the way they look. Like Captain America, to me, and Black Widow, they look like porn parody actors.
Yeah, exactly.
They don't look like the genuine, like what I imagine even in my head when it comes to like a Captain America type. They just look like men that they put in cosplay outfits. Men and women they put in cosplay outfits. And said, like, yep, you are the truest identity. Like, you are the truest we could possibly get to what the perfect design of Captain America is. And I just go, no. Captain America looks like the comedian from Watchmen with, like, a Captain America, like, skin over his armor. Like, they just spray painted a blue sheen over him.
Yeah, I mean, really, like...
Captain America, to me, is the biggest... He's, to me, the biggest... I don't know what they were going for with that model.
Yeah. And I mean, just based on what they showed, the fact that like the game makes it look to seem like Captain America's going to die or something, and there's some sort of apocalypse, that does seem interesting. But just all the footage they showed of just them fighting on the bridge was so neutral. And there's like the joke that Thor makes, and then Iron Man reacts to it in a quippy way, and the jokes just fall flat. I don't know when they decided to turn all interpretations of Iron Man into Robert Downey Jr., but I think that's probably the biggest detriment that character has suffered, because that character is supposed to be like really not that it's a disservice that he's not jokey, but he's not like on the nose referencing everything that's being said, like a group dynamic of like he's like the funny they're acting like he's like the funny guy at every party, and I'm like, Iron Man is not seeking attention for the very most part. That's just who he is. I always feel like the Iron Man interpretations are always like looking to the Avengers as like a party or like a group, like seeking approval for their jokes, and I'm like, well, just settle down, guy. You're Iron Man. You don't need to worry about other people's approval. Yeah, all their jokes seem to be trying too hard, whereas with Robert Downey Jr., it's just natural. It doesn't feel like it's a written people trying thing to down. Play Robert Downey playing Iron Man. I don't know. What you said about the story, I'd be interested to see how that fleshes out. Like, okay, once the Avengers are disbanded, what is the gameplay after that? There's apparently a looming threat that they teased at the end, and I don't know. Yeah. I mean, what are we supposed to be hyped about when it comes to like the Avengers world? If it's a part of the SpiderMan universe that Insomniac did, that throws in an additional peak of interest for me. But to me, this is like the same thing as like the Marvel and Capcom games, where like Thanos teams up with the main bad guy of like those stupid Capcom Japanese games. Where I'm like, oh yeah, of course he would be they'd combine and make the ultimate bad guy. Those silly things just always make me laugh. Like the graphics, especially, they always just throw me for a loop. Like, why don't they just look better? Yeah, because I understand it's a fighting game, but some of that stuff just is a bit. It's a bit strange. I don't know. It just I was very impressed by how they made the Avengers seem so neutral, not Avengers. Yeah. So they turned Earth's mightiest heroes into just some people in costumes. Like they're just one side of a superhero team. I liked. What do you think about? Do you remember anything about Thor's design? Where he has like these like bottle cap imprints. Like he's the biggest design that I would say like I actually enjoy the most. He has the like 6 circles on his chest, which is it's the same thing as the movie Thor. It's just it looks like he has rims on his chest, and I actually enjoy it. I actually enjoy it. They decided to make him like this Norse, as opposed to like a Norse superhero. He looks like an actual god, and I'm like, oh, that's interesting dynamic change. Everyone else wasn't so bad, but the Captain America one just really bothers me for some reason. Yeah. No Hawkeye. What is this? Hawkeye.
They keep taking Hawkeye out of the loop for some reason.
Yeah. So wait. So it is just
We got
Bruce
lost
Banner, Captain America, Iron Man, and Black Widow. Or is there... No, and Thor. Okay, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Poor Hawkeye.
Yeah, he just keeps getting shafted and everything.
Yeah.
I don't know why.
See, when the first Avengers came out, I was like, yeah, he's the Aquaman of the group. But honestly,
But why didn't you think about that? Why didn't you think about that when it comes to Black Widow? Because they're just people. Everyone in this superhero team is just people.
Yeah, but where I was going with that, I actually do like what they've done with
Clint Barton.
With Clint. Thank you, with Clint Barton since the first Avengers movie. All the stuff with his family, and especially with all the stuff in Endgame too. I actually really like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. Redeem the character. Put him in this game. Make him interesting. I don't know.
Well, I think that what did they say about it? They're going to have characters released continually throughout. Like either they'll announce them or they'll have them as like maps and it's not a fighting game. It's a
So I guess I have, besides the trailer, I haven't seen anything about this. Is this a linear story or is it open world?
Yeah, they did say it's linear. It's not open world. It's no Lego game or something.
How do you release new characters for something that's like not?
That's again. I wondered if they're just going to do announcements where they talk about like, oh yeah, I'll also be this character and they'll also be this character.
Not like release it after the game has come out, like new characters.
I have no goddamn idea. I have no idea what it is they're trying to like get at. It's the 7 seconds total of gameplay I've seen is not enough for me to be able to determine what exactly this whole thing's going to even be about. Yeah, I'd say pick it up for under $30. That's my guess. That's my pick. Marvel's Avengers.
Woohoo! The first like actual Avengers game. Yeah.
I mean, beforehand, did you know that there was even an Avengers game?
Nope.
All right.
Yeah.
I heard about it a while ago that it was going to be presented at E3, and I saw that there was a photo they teased out of some sort of like, it was like Iron Man's hand. It was like his hand with the arc reactor in it.
Sure.
And I was like, man, this is going to be trash potentially. This has the capabilities of just being, especially once I knew it was coming from the same people who do make the Marvel Capcom games, like in terms of the umbrella, the huge overarching Square Enix umbrella. I was like, there's gonna be elements of Final Fantasy thrown in, just in terms of like their team and how they make video games. Oh boy, that was gonna be something, and it turned out to be something, and looking forward to it. I mean, I'm trying to think if there's any game that even comes close to the style of this world that they've crafted so far. I mean, it really does feel like the best answer for that is SpiderMan. SpiderMan I recently just finished up for under $20. Thank the Lord.
Yeah.
I'm very glad it was a $20 game. Like I can just say I got a perfect experience out of it because it was $20. I wouldn't even say that means I got out flat or neutral. I'm willing to offer that I did get out a little bit on top. Like I delved into the steal territory. But on my second playthrough, which I'm on right now, just for the sake of getting the additional like New Game Plus trophy, there was great moments to be had. There was an abysmally dumb character that they kept teasing in the trailers and in the I think the final installation, which the DLC is apparently one overarching like narrative, and there's this really just character they did nothing with, which I can't blame it so much because they apparently had more plans to do with them, but then just for the sake of like everything was it was becoming too Spider-Man 3-ish, everything was kind of getting tossed to the side. My only biggest complaint about it is that I knew after the first 2 days, I knew everything there was to play in the game. Like wrapping everything up and doing all the additional Did you ever? I can't remember if I ever lent you the ability to do Batman Arkham. Did you ever play any of those games?
Yes. Yeah.
Which one was that?
I couldn't tell you.
It's probably the first one, right?
Yeah.
It's probably the one on Arkham Island. So I think Spider-Man's debut with Insomniac is like halfway between Arkham City and Arkham Asylum, or Arkham Knight, because there's interesting storylines, great characterization, but I felt like I would even say between the whole spectrum of the spectrum of the Arkham games, I would say Spider-Man falls somewhere close to Arkham Knight, but also in the Arkham Asylum territory, where the side missions and stuff were just side missions. They weren't like captivating me to the length that they should have been. And a lot of that stuff just was for the sake of like, okay, we had to pad out a big city. My biggest thing I loved was actually getting to explore the city and looking at everything. Like swinging through the city never felt like, oh, I've got to get from one point to the other. It was like, okay, this is the exact same thing. Every time. It was pretty darn fun doing that stuff. Oh. And the story, the main story itself was really good. I really much enjoyed that. And the customization features for all the suits you could play as. Playing as Raimi's Spider-Man was great. Playing as Holland's Spider-Mans were great. Except even in 3D form, God, that Iron Spider suit, I just hate so much.
Yep, I agree.
It just looks shiny nonsense. Oh, God.
Well,
yeah.
Let's hope Marvel's Avengers is half that interesting.
Yeah. I'd hope. If it was that, hey, pick it up for under $30.
Yeah.
That's my guess. Okay. Those were probably the lead. Oh, wait, no. We didn't talk about your favorite thing.
What's that?
Dragon Quest Builders 2.
Yeah. So it's Minecraft ripoff.
Give that guy all the awards.
Characters.
Give all that guy the awards, by the way. Can we just talk about that? Weren't you at least a little bit hyped by how intense that narrator was going? How ham he was going through the whole thing?
Sure, I guess.
Yeah, he was doing it up. He made me want to buy the game if I didn't care for Minecraft or anime. Yeah. Minecraft Builders, not Minecraft Builders.
Yep, Minecraft Builders anime, that's what it's called.
Dragon Quest Builders 2 was announced, and I thought it had a great trailer. Showed everything off that they should for an RPG / builder game. Brian's contention is that it's just a ripoff of Minecraft.
Oh god. It's Minecraft, all right? They jumped on the Minecraft train, and they ripped it off.
But they jumped on it like 3 years ago on a very successful game, and this looks to be a successful sequel. So I don't know what you're really getting at here.
Yeah, I can't wait to grow some cabbage.
Outside of the fact that they're both licensed, let's say, or like they're both under the same genre. Let's admit that they're both the same genre, mixed with a little bit more RPG elements in the latter. And considering that it is pretty much just catching on to the Minecraft craze for anime fans, let's say, between the two, between a game where you don't have any like story elements, it's mainly just subtext and a lot of just creative thinking and walking around, or the game with those same elements but with the RPG element where there's like a story, what would you choose? And I think I know what you're going to choose, but I'm just curious as to what you're...
I would choose... So, like, if Minecraft came out and then Minecraft with the story came out at the same time...
Yeah.
I would choose the one with the story.
Right, okay. I was going to say you were going to say Minecraft because you just don't like the anime features.
Well, yeah, that too. Yeah.
That's another thing that's going to be a hard selling point for you. If anything... Dragon Quest Builders 2 got me inspired to potentially pick up Dragon Quest for the Switch, or Dragon Quest 11 for the Switch, because that music, the grandioseness of it, the fact that it's, again, maybe not as low a scale as, say, something like a Crystal Chronicles or a Secret of Mana remake or whatever, or Trials of Mana remake. The fact that it's like on its own, kind of, apparently, as far as I am aware of, the fact that it's just supposed to be like RPG at its finest, I wouldn't mind picking up that game. I think Dragon Quest Builders sold me on the Dragon Quest world, if I can say that. And it looks like a fun game to get on the Switch. Like, the Switch needs more physical ports of things, and I feel like a Builders game, a Minecraft little game for your Switch, top notch there. Top notch, I say.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, okay. So we finished the Tom Clancy panel. We finished the Asian panel. We move it on to Devolver Digital.
Yes, sir. Okay. So what I didn't know before this is that Devolver Digital's having like a cinematic ongoing storyline. So if you didn't get the beginning, it may not have really made sense. That she got shot at the end of last year's panel. And was rushed to the hospital. Therein, begins the story of this weird press conference.
So
I mean, what do you think about it?
I did not know that she was shot at the last panel. I thought it was just because it's a RoboCop parody. Like, oh, okay, she's shot. This CEO person was shot, but I was very, very impressed. I'll say that I approved of the entire thing.
This really, there are certain moments that I was like, this is going a little bit too long. But again, it's a 20-minute panel, 21-minute panel. You can't really get like too.
There were some parts that were
about that sort.
Yeah, there were some parts that were a bit long, but the fact that I was entertained through the whole thing and was curious where it was going, I mean, bravo. It's very clear to me, not knowing much of the details about any of these game studios. It's clear to me that Devolver Digital is not even like a B-list studio, but kind of a C-list studio. Yeah. And they just embraced that and were like, all right, we're going to a conference. Let's do something fun.
Well, out of the one game that I've tried, which is Enter the Gungeon, that's one of my favorite goddamn games. That's such a good game.
I'm
one of those types that just enjoys those like re-roll type games where, everything's randomized and you can pick up collectibles and secrets and achievements and all that stuff. And to see them kind of embracing the nature of like creative random gaming and the types of games that come out of that is pretty great. I like I hope to see all the crazy things come up next year.
I really liked stuff like Carry On and The Messenger. They seem like the kind of games that I would have loved as a kid, just like flash games in the browser, like in-browser flash games. It reminded me a lot of the studio Nitrome, who made a lot of those like addicting games type games.
That's exactly what I was thinking of.
Yeah, even to the point where their Devolver bootleg game that they were talking about, Nitrome did that same thing where they like parodied all their own games in one game. I'm completely on board. I was out of all three of these, this panel impressed me the most, and they have the simplest games.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of pixelized form of fun, engaging type content. Well, I'm trying to think of the games that even came out that were announced for this. They showed one. There was one thing they showed one CG trailer for, which was I believe Fall Guys. But even the style and the type of like dynamic I got from the trailer seemed to be like, okay, that can be a fun party game. I'm sure that's going to be something I'll want to pick up for my Switch or something. Assuming it comes out for Switch, which I think it comes to PlayStation. So I'd be willing to pick that up too, because I'm sure there's a bit more dynamics for what they're trying to like do with like controls and stuff. Might be a little bit difficult on the Switch. I don't know. That was one thing where I was like, oh, we would like to see a little bit of gameplay, but maybe it's a little bit, because it's like, it looks to me a bit more 3D than it was like the most 3D game they had listed. But you're right, the Devolver, I thought that was a joke, for real. I thought I was like, okay, this is just a longer panel portion that they needed to pad out. But I'm pretty damn certain you can actually go to Steam and get knockoff games of the actual games and just play that out. I'd like to see somebody pick that up and do a run through of all their games. Carry On looks beautiful because I love multi shaded pixel games where you'll get like red and then you'll get like a little bit different red and then just a little bit different red and then you'll have like 7 lengths of that red just in one area of the screen and then just it all perfectly seamlessly working around. Like I don't know how the hell people make pixel games anymore. How the hell does that possibly work? Where it just looks just the way it's supposed to.
Yeah.
I don't know how people do that. It's an art. It's a true art.
Well. So I have to know, were any of the people in that like actual employees, or were they all actors?
I can't tell if this woman is supposed, because she's the woman that they've been using for their thing. I don't know if she's supposed to be a spokesperson. That they're like, the same way that Sony had that PlayStation guy talk about, like he was their mascot, talking about how awesome PlayStation is as like the business guy of PlayStation. I don't know if he's supposed to just be an actor or if everyone in the studio is just nuts and they're just like really good at being actors. To me, seemed more akin to just actors being actors.
Yeah, see, if they are employees, they're incredible actors.
Yeah. Because again, I don't think we even talked about the conference itself. Because we actually got to watch this conference. It wasn't just trailers.
Yeah.
There was a woman shot up last year, and they plugged her brain into a system where they could just host E3. Like it's just everything they did at the beginning with the RoboCop parody was just to accentuate like other studios and how they perform their conferences and how they're usually not as to the point, or they just tread around the nonsense of like CG trailers and no gameplay and monetization and all that stuff. They just wanted to throw it in their face. Like, if we're going to be C-list studio, let's not pretend we're an A-list studio.
Yeah.
Let's just cram home the fact that this is crazy stuff that we're putting out. We hope you enjoy it.
Yeah.
And we're going to make sure you see as much of it as we can show you.
So, did you watch the full thing? Did you see what they're doing
I remember
next
seeing it.
year?
I remember seeing. What is on the top of my head? What are they doing next year?
They're going from RoboCop to Terminator.
See, like,
did you see that?
Just to plan this stuff out ahead of time like that, and like they'll follow through with it.
Yeah, no, they did a whole like mid-credits thing where they do the whole "come with me if you want to live" and.
Oh yeah, I do remember that. It was very small at the end.
Yeah. And then did you actually see that? Did you watch the credits? Because they hit a whole bunch of jokes in the credits too, like written in the credits.
No, I did not.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people putting in a lot of hard effort.
Yeah.
In, what they care about, which is games. And
if they put the same effort into their games that they put into this video, then I'm on board.
Brian, Enter the Gungeon, so damn good. Like this is that's the game that I cared about enough to focus my efforts on even watching this panel. Their games, well, they're so far 1 for 1 in my book. I'd say 2 for 1 if you count how good Enter the Gungeon is. Were you gonna ever plan on picking up one of those arcade machines?
That's what I was gonna ask. Since you were talking so much about Enter the Gungeon, are you gonna pick up the Enter the Gungeon arcade cabinet?
I really hope Up Down or something picks it up.
Yeah,
I will spend all of my coins playing Enter the Gungeon. What was it called? Enter the Gungeon.
I just wrote down Gungeon arcade cabinet.
Enter the Gungeon House of the Gundead. It's great, just to make, because again, it's a complete throwback to all those like games I really had no interest in that involved like zombies coming at you at the screen, and which were fun, of course. But like, it just, there's no like big market for that kind of stuff anymore. And the fact that they're taking the effort to go, no, this stuff is fun, we're going to make it, we're going to have you buy it from us, was just like, just all my respect towards this company just blew up after this conference.
Bravo.
What's the other game? The Pedro game. That was right after The Messenger.
My friend Pedro. That's the one where he was like running on a train.
They showed that off last year, I do remember. And that is officially out at this point. I could pick that up on my Switch right now and try it out. I'd like to take some reviews. The trailers that they showed last year were far more... Because I just got it. Like, they showed... you being able to kick a skateboard into a room and then having the guy knock over and then jumping through the room and having, filling it up with bullets after that point. Or like kicking a frying pan into the air, shooting the frying pan and having the bullets ricochet off into a specific area you needed to shoot at for guys.
like just dynamically fun game is what I get from the studio, and yeah, I'm looking to expand my devolver my repertoire for how many games I have of theirs, because just
yeah, bravo.
Yeah, I'm all about it. I don't know. The problem is that that's like the most thing I can talk about passionately was the Devolver Digital. I apologize for anybody who like listened to this and goes like, "This isn't a proper gaming podcast." They didn't have anything to say. But
it's not a gaming podcast. It's Kyle's Corner.
I'm impressed by what I'm impressed by. And was that your outro for the show? Like, yeah. I was like, maybe I should have just followed through with him.
Yeah, no.
Whatever. I just like to say I'm impressed by what I'm impressed by, and I'm impassioned by what I'm impassioned by. And out of the 3 things I was shown today, or the 3 conferences, yeah, I'm gonna stick with this one, because boy oh boy, we would not have had even a slightly fun mood to talk about games if we hadn't been shown this one. So good on you, Devolver. Good on you.
Yeah. I do keep wanting to call it Developer Digital. I know that's not right.
Yeah, I'm the exact same way, because Devolver Digital, I mean, is it I want to say Revolver Digital, but then...
Oh, okay.
Because I don't know how Devolver comes into it.
Is it, I assume, they're like nagging themselves, like as a joke, like Devolver? Like they're Devolver Digital.
Maybe we should get one of that crazy lady.
They seem indie enough. We could get them on the show. Let's do an interview.
They'd be real indie if they were willing to stoop to our levels and not know what was going on.
We'd have tens of views.
We'd Eric Andre them to the extent like, what even is this show? Like they'd be like, oh, this is like a parody, like an Eric Andre. I'm like, no, we're just this bad. We don't know what we're talking about. I mean, what is this bad? What are you talking about? We're on the Kyle's Corner podcast, a fantastic piece of media. Cue audience applause.
That's right. Tune in every Saturday, is it? Tune in every whatever day and listen to Kyle's Corner. I've been Brian.
And I've been Nick. Thanks for joining in, everybody. We'll see you next time. We don't have a sign-off or an intro.
Yeah, we kind of gotta get that. Well, I guess it's up to Kyle.
Corner.
The end.